This Baseplan Present video features how to remove spreadsheets from your equipment availability planning, focusing on the following areas: viewing the status of rental equipment, grouping column headings and drilling into data, viewing additional information relating to equipment, viewing equipment availability in a calendar view, viewing upcoming equipment rental reservations.
So I'm currently logged into Baseplan Enterprise, and before we kick things off, I want to talk about what I mean by planning your equipment availability. So often when I work with customers, they'll manage their data in multiple locations. So they'll have some of the rental information about their equipment on spreadsheets or on whiteboards. They'll have the service information managed in spreadsheets or on whiteboards in the workshop, and they'll enter that information into multiple systems as well. And then they need to try and plan their upcoming rentals based upon all this sporadic information.
This conference will now be recorded.
So I'm currently logged into Baseplan Enterprise. And before we start things off, I want to talk about what I mean by planning your equipment availability. So often when I talk and meet with customers, they'll manage their data in multiple locations. So they might have some of their equipment and rental information in a spreadsheet or on multiple systems. They might have their service information in the workshop or in spreadsheets or documenting multiple systems as well. And then their team is trying to plan the upcoming rentals and need to collate all this information so they can make decisions around what equipment is available and what they can commit for the upcoming rentals as well. And often if you don't plan that, you might not be able to deliver to the customer on their expectations, or you might need to do something like a re-rent and get that additional cost in. So let's jump in and I'll show you how you can utilize some of the areas in Baseplan to actually remove a lot of those separated areas. So the first screen we're going to look at is what we call the equipment availability screen. So this screen really focuses on two main areas. What is the rental status of the equipment and what is the service status of the equipment? And you can see that here on the very top section. So this is going to give me all the different statuses that are available that are automatically configured as part of the workflow when different triggers happen in the system. We also have our service status, which shows me, is it currently available for rent or is it currently down? Is it being worked on? Is it in an inspection or a major repair? And we can also filter by serialized or non-serialized items. The next level to this screen shows me a search bar where I can actually search all of my equipment types and then bring back relevant information. I can also group it by different levels. So I can say, show me just my branch, or show me my area or state, or show me the entire business. And then I can also group this by choosing my particular branch if I wanted to sort of scope this at multiple locations as well. Then on the bottom left here, as we can see, if I start typing in a description like EXC, and I'll look for excavator, it'll look up our equipment types and bring back anything that relates to EXC. And you can see here it's brought through a whole range of information. Now I can click on just excavator and that'll filter just the information on this screen by excavator. And I have a whole range of columns here that we can look at that will give us information. Now, right now, Baseplan is automatically just showing me what is currently available for rent. So really I should be picking the equipment for the reservation or the quote that we need to do in the future based upon this data set. Now, if I wanted to look at more information, you can see there's checkboxes here where I can see what's currently out on rent or what's in transfer or what's being called off rent. So if I was to click on this all button, it would show me additional statuses of things that are in inspection or in transfer or currently out on rent or being reserved. And if I was to click the service status as well, it would also highlight in red all the serialized items that are currently out of service as well. Now, when we have this information, you can see here, I've actually grouped the column to make it easier to actually identify it, because if I was to remove this grouping, it sort of gets a little bit busy like that. You can see how it's all just in one area, and the way that we get this grouping is I can remove this by say show group by box. We can just right click and say show group by box, and we can drag whatever column we want up into this area. So I can, like I had before, maybe the equipment status, and then that will show me the information grouped a lot easier. Now, the other thing that we can do that's quite handy from this screen is to start drilling into information. So let's say hypothetically, we didn't have all this equipment available and we needed one of the items that was currently out of service. Anything that is linked within the system, you can drill directly into that data. So we can see here, this one is a red, for example, and it's got the job number. So rather than writing that down or going into another system or going to a spreadsheet, I can just double click on that and that will bring up the relevant service job automatically. And I can see here that the job description is painting equipment. So then maybe we want to talk to our service department about, hey, can we finish off this painting so we can allocate this to a potential upcoming reservation. The same sort of information is going to be available down here as well with the rental number. So maybe I've got something out on rent and I can double click on that number and it will take me straight through to that rental contract automatically as well. So rather than writing that down or making a phone call, I could see who's currently out on rent to and all the information about the contract and the detail lines of the rental as well. Now, if we just go back to our screen here, now let's just talk about actually allocating and reserving equipment. So we know that we want to get rid of the all status because we only want to look at things that are currently available. We can see here I've also made it so it's filtering it by the meter reading because maybe we want to reserve the item that has the lowest potential meter reading, so we get our utilization up of our equipment that isn't used as much. Now, if I scroll across here, we can see that we've got a whole range of information that we can pull through automatically and update in the system as well. Now, maybe the customer has a query around a certain specification of the equipment to comply with their requirements for the rental. So what we can do is rather than going and finding that spec information or the service history or whatever it is that we need to compile for the customer, we can actually right click on this item and go to view and then view a whole range of information about the equipment. So we can check the any attachments that relate to it. We can look at the rental history. We can look at the movement reports. We can see any notes that relate to it. We can look at the registration and insurance information, the service history, or in this scenario, like I just mentioned, maybe we want to look at the specifications. So I can click on specifications and it will, and as part of the purchasing module, we can pull through these specs automatically. So then they update as part of the equipment make model system. And we can see here, maybe there's a certain spec that the customer needs, and then we can confirm that we've got that spec or the reach height or the weight, whatever it is that the customer has a requirement for. Now, I can also right click on this, as you can see, and then organize a transfer to another location, or I can reserve the equipment as well. Now, maybe you don't want to see this information in more of a grid view like we're looking at now, and maybe you want to see it in a calendar view. So what I can do is I can click on planning here, or I can even go over to the type over here and click on right click and go planning, and it will show me the same information, but more in a calendar view. So now we can see the same serialized items over here on the left, our branch that we're logged into, and then the same rental and service availability and the current state, and it will group it by the particular models that we've got under this type as well. So maybe the customer needs one of these machines, but we can see that there's a larger machine available. We can check with them whether that machine would suit for the job as well. We can also see that if there is something that is currently out of service, it will pull through the detail of that particular service job, and we could right click and go in and view that service job. If there is a current rental, we can also hover over it and see the information about the rental, or we can right click and go into that rental contract or edit the booking or add notes to it. We can see the upcoming reservations as well. And down the very bottom here, we can see the unallocated equipment. So things that have been reserved, but the serial, like the piece of equipment that we're choosing to send out on rent hasn't been selected yet. So as part of our pre-delivery inspection process, this equipment should be getting allocated in the upcoming stages. Now, what we can also do is, as part of this process, we can actually change the colors of these. So if I went to settings, I can actually create my own colors based upon our workflows within the system. And you might already have a color scheme that the guys are used to. So maybe red means down and out of service, or maybe green means ready for rent. Whatever the system is that you want to set up, we can set up these color codings automatically. Now, the last area that I wanted to talk about was how we can look at our upcoming reservations as well. So often what will happen is you might want to pop, as I say, pop this screen out. So we can click on pop out, and we can drag that onto another monitor if we needed to. But what we can do is I can go down here and click on reservations, and this will show me all of my upcoming reservations for my rentals as well. And so what we can do, if I wanted to pop this screen out, maybe I might have my availability on one screen, like here, for example. Whoops, let's get that up again. So I might have my availability, my availability on this screen on one monitor, like this, and I might have my reservations on another monitor. And people often work with these two screens or three screens even to be able to see multiple information around the equipment at once. But just going back to the reservation screen, we can see the different color coding on the days that it needs to be delivered and whether it's being allocated on a single rental contract as well. And we can also see whether the equipment has been allocated at this stage or not as well. We can pull through the phone numbers and the contact information, any service status as well. And we can do some filtering on here. So maybe you've got a lot of contracts in here, and maybe I just want to look up, say, just Valaris Construction. It'll filter just Valaris Construction. We can then right-click on this, and we can also go back to that original availability screen, or we can go to that planning calendar as well, or maybe want to transfer the reservation to another location, or maybe want to confirm some additional information about the equipment as well. And that just about wraps up today's session. If you do have any ideas on future topics or you have any feedback, please leave a comment in the section below. We have had some great feedback so far, and where people have asked for future topics. So I do want to try and make all these on-demand webinars very, very relevant to what you guys are after. So please leave that feedback, and I hope to see everyone again in next week's session.